Hello and welcome back to a new video. In the previous video for this game that I'm creating, I created the NPCs for the game. But in today's video, I'll be creating a map for the player to help navigate their way through the area. But before I start with the map, I will change up how the game looks a little bit and have to also create some actual assets instead of just some pillars, as I don't think pillars need to be mapped. So in last video at the end, the screen started to have some customization to the visuals with it being highly pixelated, making it not the same as everything else. And in today's video, I will further up on that. The first thing I'll do is remove this default Unity background. I have created my own skybox, which appears to be a night sky with a bunch of stars in it, which I created in Microsoft Paint. Something I've always disliked about the materials is how they always look so blank and bland. I've just never been able to find any way around it. But for this, I've created a special shader, which has a lot of stuff to it, but the main part is that it will add noise to the color while also making the material kind of pixelated, making it kind of low quality and adding some variety to the materials. So adding the shader to the grass, it significantly makes the grass more interesting, while also giving the car some more variety with it, making the entire thing look much more interesting. That is not going to be the last thing I do with this. As I said before, I started working with pixelating the screen, which is kind of like the extra effect after everything. But now I've created an actual After Effects shader, which changes the screen a fair bit, with the main thing it doing is adding slight dithering to the game. Now that most of the game has its visuals updated to how I want it, I then created a bunch of 3D models for the map, with them being a total of 5 different houses, several different street assets, which includes straight streets, intersections, and corner streets. And all of these streets are placed with a tile map so that they perfectly line up each and every time. And also some other models like a full-on gas station and a nice slide. And with every one of these 3D models, I decided so I don't have to worry about scaling, adding tons of them later. When you're far away from the houses or roads and anything else, they progressively get more low quality. Like from this distance, this house has no windows, no front door, no driveway, nothing. But as you get closer, all the stuff about the house becomes very visible. This, of course, allows performance to be saved. Now that all the 3D models have been made, it's time to make an actual map that will help guide a player to specific locations. So for the map, I created a large plane under the map, which will always be lit up and has its own camera associated with it that will always look downwards at this map. With that camera looking down at the plane, I can have it so that a different plane, which the player can be able to see, is basically the view of the camera. And also, with this, the player is able to move around the camera to look at different aspects of the map when they eventually are added, with a crosshair in the center to know where the middle is. So for placing the images onto the map, instead of manually doing it by hand, I have it so that the streets, houses, trees, and anything else I want to be able to have a image on the map has a special map asset script. The main map script will look at every single one of these map assets and place it onto the map respective to where the actual object is, so that the proportions are all correct. So after adding the script to the road prefabs and a few select 3D models, I now have a map which shows the layout that exists so far of this little town that exists, actual sprites that each object uses. It is extremely similar to the new journal pictures that I added to Jellyland, which sadly cannot be made in Microsoft Paint, as from my knowledge, Microsoft Paint doesn't have transparency, which these need. So that was a pretty big downside. Now with this map, I have some objects that are much brighter than the rest, notably this house and the gas station. This is where the crosshair comes into play, because when trying to interact, while the crosshair is over one of them, it'll bring up a text box which will actually give the name of the place plus a small description, which can also be hidden by clicking anywhere else. This allows some insight to be gained and to help guide the player on the significance of that place. And so now that pretty much the entire map is done with all the features added to it, the final thing is making the player able to toggle on and off the map, which is very simple. So now whenever the player presses tab, they will open up the map and be unable to move, instead moving their cursor. And then when they want to stop, they can press tab again and able to move around. And also with the game, since I have it with night sky and a pretty dim light, I also decided to give the player a flashlight. It has no animations. It's basically just a light that the player can toggle at will to be able to see more in areas. And in relation to lights, since the houses are already getting some of the models hidden when you're far away to save on performance, I decided to also do that with the lights, so that if a player is in range of a light, it will turn on like that, and then once the player is not close enough, the light will turn off. This is, again, to save on some performance for the game. Well, that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye.